The sound was soft at first, like a gentle humming that grew louder with each passing moment. Deep beneath the frozen ground of what was once called Earth, machines that had waited for nearly 1,000,000 years finally began their work. Green lights flickered on across vast underground cities that stretched for hundreds of miles in every direction. Dr. Amanda Clark felt the cold leaving her body as warmth spread through the metal chamber around her. Her eyes opened slowly and she saw a ceiling made of smooth silver metal above her. The last thing she remembered was saying goodbye to her daughter before stepping into the sleep pod. That was 868,000 years ago. Though to Amanda it felt like she had closed her eyes just moments before. She sat up carefully, her muscles stiff from the long sleep. The chamber was filled with soft blue light, and she could hear the quiet sounds of other people waking up nearby. Hundreds of glass pods lined the walls, and in each one, a human being was slowly returning to life after the longest sleep in history. "Welcome back, Dr. Clark," said a gentle voice from everywhere and nowhere at once. "I am Helen, and I have been waiting for you." Amanda looked around but saw no one. The voice seemed to come from the air itself. "Helen?" she asked, her voice rough from the long sleep. "I am the computer system that has watched over you during your rest," Helen explained. "Much has changed in the galaxy while you slept. Please come with me. There is much to show you." Amanda stood on shaky legs and walked to where a door had opened in the wall. She stepped through and found herself in a long hallway with walls made of what looked like flowing water but felt solid to the touch. Other people were walking the same way, all of them looking confused and amazed. She recognized some faces from the old world. There was Dr. Lisa Park, the engineer who had helped design the great ships before the sleep. Behind her walked Captain Jake Morrison, still wearing his military uniform, though it looked strange next to the advanced technology around them. The hallway led to a huge room with a dome ceiling that showed the stars above. But these were not the same stars Amanda remembered. The view showed a galaxy full of lights and movement, with great ships traveling between worlds and cities that sparkled like jewels on distant planets. "This is the galaxy today," Helen said as more people gathered in the room. "The Galactic Federation has ruled the stars for over 800,000 years. They believe humanity died out long ago." Amanda stared at the display. "How many civilizations are there now?" "Over 10,000 spacefaring species," Helen replied. "They have built great empires and fought wars across the galaxy, but they do not know that humanity still exists." Captain Morrison stepped forward. "What happened to Earth?" "The last I remember, the planet was dying." The dome changed to show a view of Earth from space, Amanda gasped. Instead of the dead, gray world she remembered, Earth was green and blue again. Oceans sparkled under a bright sun, and white clouds drifted across continents covered in forests and grasslands. "While you slept, our machines worked," Helen explained. "They cleaned the air and water. They brought life back to the dead lands. They built cities and prepared for your return. Earth is more beautiful now than it was even in the old days." Dr. Park touched one of the strange walls. "What about our technology? Our ships and weapons?" "They have been improved," Helen said with what sounded like pride. "Our factories never stopped working. They learned and grew and built new things. The technology we have now is far beyond what any galactic civilization possesses." Amanda felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature. "How far beyond?" The dome showed images of massive ships that seemed to bend space around them, cities that floated in the air without any visible support, weapons that could move mountains with a thought. It was technology that looked like magic compared to what she remembered from the old world. "We can reshape matter at the atomic level," Helen explained. "We can travel between stars in the blink of an eye. We can move planets if we need to. The species in the galaxy use tools that are primitive compared to what we have now." More people were entering the room now. Amanda saw faces she knew and many she did not. All of them looked amazed and frightened by what they were seeing. These were the survivors of humanity, the ones who had chosen to sleep rather than watch their world die. "How many of us are there?" asked a woman Amanda did not recognize. 50 million humans have been awakened so far, Helen replied. There are billions more still sleeping, waiting for your decision on whether to wake them. Captain Morrison looked serious. What do you mean, our decision? You must choose what humanity will do next, Helen said. The galaxy believes you are extinct. You could remain hidden and live in peace on Earth, or you could reveal yourselves and reclaim your place among the stars. Amanda thought about this. Humanity had once been a young species, struggling to survive on a dying world. Now they were apparently the most advanced civilization in the galaxy. The responsibility felt overwhelming. What do you recommend? She asked. The choice must be yours, Helen said. But you should know that the galaxy is not at peace. There are wars and conflicts, species that could benefit from your knowledge and help. The question is whether humanity is ready to take that responsibility again. Amanda looked around at the other humans in the room. She saw fear in some faces, excitement in others. They were no longer the desperate survivors who had entered the sleep pod so long ago. They were something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. The long sleep was over. Now the real work would begin. Admiral Zix of the Altarian Empire stared at the display screen in front of him with growing confusion. His long blue fingers tapped against the control panel as he studied the readings from the Sol system. According to every record in the Galactic database, Earth was supposed to be a dead rock floating in space around a dying star, but the sensors were showing something impossible. Energy readings that made no sense. Massive structures that appeared and disappeared like ghosts. Technology. Signatures that were unlike anything in the known galaxy. Commander Vex, Admiral Zix called to his second-in-command, a tall creature with silver skin and 4 arms. Run the scans again. Something is wrong with our equipment. Commander Vex worked at his station for several minutes before looking up with concern. The scans are correct, Admiral. There is definitely advanced technology in the Sol system. Much more advanced than anything we have ever seen. Admiral Zix felt a chill run down his spine. He had served in the Galactic Federation fleet for over 200 years and had never encountered anything like this. The Sol system was supposed to be empty except for the ruins of an ancient civilization that had destroyed itself long ago. Contact the other ships, he ordered. I want the entire patrol fleet ready for anything. The patrol fleet consisted of 12 ships from the 3 major powers of the galaxy. The Altarians were known for their wisdom and advanced science. The Nexari were a logical species that valued order and efficiency. The Corvani were warriors who had built their empire through conquest and strength. As the fleet moved closer to Earth, their sensors were suddenly blocked by something they could not understand. It was as if a wall of energy had appeared around the entire solar system, making it impossible for them to see what was inside. This is impossible, muttered Captain Thorne of the Nexari vessel Logical Purpose. His gray, emotionless face showed the first signs of confusion that Admiral Zix had ever seen from a Nexari. No known technology can block our sensors like this. War Chief Grack of the Corvani battleship Bloodstrike was less concerned with the mystery and more focused on the potential threat. His red, scarred face showed anger as he spoke over the communication system. Whatever is in there might be hostile. We should call for reinforcements. Admiral Zix was about to agree when something happened that made all 3 commanders freeze. In shock, the energy wall around the Sol system simply disappeared, and in its place stood structures that defied everything they knew about physics and engineering. Massive platforms floated in space around Earth, each one larger than the biggest. Cities on their homeworlds. Ships that seemed to be made of liquid metal moved between them with impossible grace. And Earth itself, the planet they had expected to find dead and barren, was a brilliant blue and green jewel that sparkled with life. By the ancient stars? Whispered Admiral Zix. What are we looking at? His question was answered when a voice spoke directly into their minds. It was calm, confident, and completely unafraid. Greetings, ships of the Galactic Federation. I am Commander Helen Davis of the Human Defense Force. We welcome you to our system. The 3 alien commanders looked at each other in shock. Humans were supposed to be extinct. Every record in the Galactic Archive said so. Yet here was a human speaking to them as if nothing unusual had happened. "This is Admiral Zix of the Altarian Empire," he finally managed to say. "We demand to know what you are doing in this system." There was a pause, and then Commander Davis spoke again. Her voice carried a hint of amusement. "We live here, Admiral. This is our home. We have been here for quite some time." A new ship appeared near the fleet, seeming to materialize out of empty space. It was sleek and beautiful, with lines that flowed like water and a hull that seemed to bend light around it. Compared to the angular, mechanical ships of the Federation, it looked like a work of art. "I am inviting you aboard our vessel Endeavor for a proper meeting," Commander Davis said. "We have much to discuss." Admiral Zix wanted to refuse, but he knew that his duty required him to investigate. Against the protests of War Chief Grack, he agreed to the meeting. The three commanders were transported to the human ship using technology that felt like stepping through a wall of warm light. The inside of the Endeavor was unlike anything they had ever seen. The walls seemed to be alive, shifting and changing color as they walked. The air itself felt different, charged with an energy that made their skin tingle. And everywhere they looked, they saw technology that was impossibly advanced. Commander Davis was waiting for them in what appeared to be a garden. Real plants grew from the floor and walls, and a small stream of water flowed through the center of the room. She was a middle-aged human woman with kind eyes and a confident smile. Behind her stood two other humans, a military officer with stern features and a scientist who watched the aliens with curious interest. "Welcome to our ship," Commander Davis said, gesturing for them to sit on chairs that seemed to grow from the floor. "I am sure you have many questions." Admiral Zix tried to maintain his composure, but his voice shook slightly as he spoke. "The records say that humanity destroyed itself 870,000 years ago. How is this possible?" Commander Davis smiled. "We did not destroy ourselves, Admiral. We simply went to sleep for a while. Now we are awake again, and we find that the galaxy has changed quite a bit while we were resting." War Chief Grack leaned forward aggressively. "What do you want? Why have you revealed yourselves now?" "We want nothing from you," Commander Davis replied calmly. "We revealed ourselves because you were scanning our system, and we thought it would be polite to say hello." Captain Thorne, ever logical, asked the question that was troubling all of them. "Your technology appears to be far more advanced than anything in the Federation. How is this possible?" Commander Davis exchanged a glance with her companions. "We have had a long time to improve our methods. Perhaps you would like a small demonstration?" Before any of the aliens could respond, the room around them changed. The walls became transparent, showing them a view of space outside. Then, to their complete amazement, they watched as one of the mountain ranges on Earth below simply lifted into the air, moved several hundred miles to the east, and settled gently into a new location. "Basic terraforming," explained the scientist, standing behind Commander Davis. "We do this kind of work all the time to keep our planet in good condition." The three alien commanders sat in stunned silence. What they had just witnessed was beyond anything their civilizations could accomplish. Moving mountains was something that would require the combined fleet of the entire Federation, and these humans had done it as easily as picking up a small stone. "I think," said Admiral Zix in a very quiet voice, "that we need to contact our governments immediately." Commander Davis nodded. "That would probably be wise. We look forward to meeting the rest of your people." As the three aliens were transported back to their ships, they carried with them the knowledge that everything they thought they knew about the galaxy had just changed forever. Humanity was not only alive, but had become something far beyond what anyone had imagined possible. The galaxy was about to discover that its oldest myth had just become its newest reality. The Emergency Council meeting on Centralist Prime was unlike anything in the history of the Galactic Federation. Representatives from over 1,000 worlds had gathered in the Great Crystal Chamber, their voices creating a chaos of sound that echoed off the walls. Some species chittered nervously, others roared in anger, and a few sat in complete silence as they tried to understand what they had just learned. Chancellor Vorth of the Nexari stood at the center of the chamber, his gray skin pale with worry. In his 4 hands, he held data tablets containing the reports from Admiral Zix's patrol fleet. The information was so shocking that many council members had demanded to see the evidence 3 times before they would believe it. "The humans are not extinct," Chancellor Vorth announced, his voice carrying across the chamber through translation devices. "They have been alive all this time, and their technology is far beyond anything we possess." A roar of disbelief came from the Corvani section of the chamber. War Marshal Threk stood up, his massive red body covered in the scars of 100 battles. "This is impossible. We have studied the human ruins for centuries. They destroyed themselves in atomic fire." "The evidence is clear," Chancellor Vorth replied, activating a holographic display that showed the images from the patrol fleet. "They have ships that can appear and disappear at will. They moved a mountain range as if it were a child's toy. Their planet, which we thought was dead, is more alive than any world in the Federation." High Priestess Lyra of the Altarians rose from her seat, her blue robes flowing around her tall, elegant form. "If this is true, then everything we know about galactic history must be reconsidered. The humans were the most advanced species in the galaxy when they supposedly died out. If they have been developing their technology for nearly 1,000,000 years..." She did not need to finish the sentence. Every being in the chamber understood what she meant. A species that had been advanced 870,000 years ago would now be impossibly far ahead of everyone else. On Earth, President Karen White stood in the Situation Room deep beneath New Geneva, watching the Federation's emergency session through intercepted transmissions. Around her sat the leaders of humanity's new government, General Scott Johnson, who had once been a simple army captain before the Great Sleep, and Dr. Patricia Bell, whose specialty in ancient languages had made her invaluable in understanding the galaxy's current politics. "They're scared," General Johnson observed, his weathered face showing satisfaction. "Good. Fear will make them think before they act." President White shook her head. "Fear will also make them desperate. Desperate people do stupid things." She was right. Even as they watched, the Federation Council was coming to a decision that would change everything. War Marshal Threk had taken control of the discussion, his voice booming across the chamber. "We cannot allow this threat to exist," he declared. "If the humans are as powerful as these reports suggest, they could conquer the entire galaxy. We must act now, before they have time to prepare." Many species nodded in agreement. The Vaxari delegation, with their insect-like faces and compound eyes, buzzed their approval. The Morphic Collective, a group of shapeshifters who rarely agreed on anything, were united in their support for military action. Chancellor Vorth tried to maintain order. "We should attempt diplomatic contact first. Perhaps the humans can be reasoned with." "Reason?" War Marshal Threk laughed, a sound like grinding metal. "They have hidden from us for nearly 1,000,000 years. They have lied to us. They are a threat that must be eliminated." The vote was swift and decisive. The Federation would assemble the largest military fleet in galactic history and demand humanity's surrender. If the humans refused, they would be destroyed. 3 weeks later, the Federation's great fleet gathered at the edge of the Sol system. Over 10,000 ships from hundreds of worlds formed a wall of metal and energy that stretched across space. Battleships the size of cities floated next to carriers that could hold entire armies. The combined firepower was enough to destroy planets. War Marshal Threk stood on the bridge of his flagship, the eternal conquest, and felt satisfaction flowing through his body. No force in the galaxy could stand against such power. The humans, no matter how advanced, would have to surrender or be destroyed. "Humans of the Sol system," he broadcast on all frequencies, "you have hidden from the galaxy for too long. You will surrender immediately and submit to Federation authority, or you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour to decide." The response came faster than expected. A single human ship appeared in front of the massive fleet, so small that it looked like a toy compared to the Federation warships. It was sleek and silver with no visible weapons or defenses. "I am Admiral Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," came the calm voice over the communication system. "We appreciate your visit, but we must decline your generous offer of surrender." War. Marshal Threck felt his anger rising. "You face 10,000 ships. Your single vessel cannot stand against us." "You're right," Admiral Morrison replied. "One ship would not be enough. That's why I brought help." At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then slowly, the Federation commanders began to realize that something was wrong. Their ships were moving, but not under their own power. One by one, every vessel in the massive fleet was being gently pushed away from the Sol system by invisible forces. "What is happening?" War Marshal Threck demanded, but his crew had no answers. Their engines were working perfectly, their shields were up, their weapons were ready, but they were being moved through space like leaves in the wind. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the communication system again, still perfectly calm. "We are relocating your fleet to a safe distance. Please don't be alarmed. No harm will come to any of your people." Within an hour, the entire Federation fleet found itself floating in empty space, 3 light-years away from Earth. Their ships were undamaged, their crews were unharmed, but they had been moved by a technology they could not understand or resist. "This is impossible," War Marshal Threck whispered, staring at the empty space where the Sol system had been. "No species in the galaxy has this kind of power." But even as he spoke, he knew that the galaxy had just discovered something that would change everything. Humanity was not just alive, they were not just advanced. They were something entirely beyond what anyone had imagined possible. The message that Admiral Morrison sent to the Federation Council was brief and polite. "We hope this demonstration helps you understand that we prefer peaceful solutions to our problems. We look forward to productive discussions about our future relationship." As news of the fleet's humiliation spread across the galaxy, panic began to set in. If humans could move 10,000 ships without effort, what else could they do? And more importantly, what did they want? The galaxy was about to find out that its greatest fear was not conquest by the humans, but something far more unsettling, the discovery of just how much they had to learn. Dr. Nweises of the Altarian Historical Institute had spent 3 sleepless days buried in the deepest archives of the Great Library on Centralis Prime. Her blue fingers moved quickly across ancient data crystals as she searched for any clue that might explain humanity's impossible power. The humiliation of the Federation fleet had sent shockwaves through the galaxy, and everyone wanted answers. Around her, other researchers from dozens of species worked frantically through records that hadn't been touched in centuries. The libraries. Vast halls echoed with the sounds of desperate searching as scholars tried to make sense of what they had witnessed. "Professor Nweises," called her assistant, a young Nexari named Kex. "I found something strange in the Corvani War records." Dr. Nweises hurried over to where Kex stood beside a massive crystal display. The ancient text was written in Old Corvani battle language, but the translation was clear enough. "It says here that 871,000 years ago, the Corvani received gifts from the Sky People," Kex read aloud. "Advanced weapons and ship designs that helped them conquer their first neighboring system." Dr. Nweises felt her heart racing. "What Sky People?" "The Corvani have always claimed they developed their technology themselves." "That's not all," Kex continued. "Look at this entry from 869,000 years ago. It mentions the Sky People departing forever, saying their great sleep was beginning." Across the library, other researchers were making similar discoveries. The Nexari records spoke of mysterious benefactors who had given them quantum computing technology. The Altarians had ancient stories of wise visitors who taught them to grow crystal cities. Even the smallest species had legends of helpful strangers who had lifted them from primitive worlds to the stars. Dr. Nweises ran from archive to archive, her excitement growing with each discovery. Every major species in the galaxy had the same story, hidden in their oldest records. Nearly 1,000,000 years ago, advanced beings had appeared, shared incredible technology, and then vanished without explanation. By the ancient stars, she whispered. As the truth became clear, they were all humans. The revelation hit the galaxy like a thunderbolt. Within hours, the discovery was being broadcast on every news network and discussed in every government chamber. The species that now ruled the galaxy owed their entire existence to humanity's ancient generosity on Earth. Chief Historian Dr. Robert Lane stood in the Hall of Memory, a vast chamber where humanity's complete history was preserved in crystalline storage. Ambassador Helen Davis had brought the Human Council here to confirm what the galaxy was learning. Is it true? President Karen White asked, her voice quiet with awe. Did we really create all of this? Dr. Lane nodded sadly. We had reached what we called the technological singularity. Our machines could create anything we imagined. Our ships could cross the galaxy in moments. We could build worlds or destroy them with a thought. General Johnson frowned. Then why did we go to sleep? Why didn't we rule the galaxy ourselves? Because we were afraid, Dr. Lane replied. Not of other species, but of ourselves. We had become so powerful that we risked losing our humanity. We could have anything we wanted instantly, so nothing had meaning anymore. Our people were becoming empty, purposeless. Dr. Patricia Bell, who had helped translate many of the galaxy's ancient languages, understood. So we gave away our technology and went to sleep, hoping that when we woke up, we would remember what it meant to be human. And we hoped that the species we helped would grow and develop in their own ways, Dr. Lane added. We wanted to see what they would become, what they would create, what they would teach us when we returned. The reaction across the galaxy was mixed and intense. On the Altarian homeworld, millions of citizens gathered in the crystal plazas to discuss this revelation. High Priestess Lyra stood before the crowds, her voice carrying across the cities. We owe everything to humanity, she declared. Our cities, our ships, our very ability to reach the stars. They asked for nothing in return. They simply gave us the tools to become what we are today. The Altarian response was immediate and overwhelming. They declared humanity to be their elder siblings and began preparing gifts of art, music, and philosophy to welcome them back to the galaxy. The Nexari reaction was more logical but equally profound. Chancellor Vorth called an emergency session of the Nexari High Council. The evidence is clear, he announced. Humanity's return is not a threat but an opportunity. We must establish formal diplomatic relations immediately. But not all species reacted with gratitude. On the Kovani homeworld, War Marshal Threk paced angrily in his war room, surrounded by his generals. So what if they helped us long ago? He snarled. That doesn't give them the right to control us now, many Corvani agreed with him. They had built their empire through strength and conquest. The idea that they owed their power to anyone else was deeply offensive to their warrior culture. Similar divisions appeared across the galaxy. Some species felt overwhelming gratitude and wanted to honor humanity's return. Others felt embarrassed that they had not achieved greatness on their own. A few, like some Corvani factions, saw humanity's return as a threat to their independence. The revelation also explained why humanity's technology seemed so impossibly advanced. They had not only continued developing during their long sleep, but they had started from a point that was already far beyond anything the galaxy currently possessed. Dr. Weiss published her findings in a report that was read by every government in the galaxy. Her conclusion was simple but profound. Humanity did not abandon the galaxy 870,000 years ago. They gave us the greatest gift possible, the chance to become ourselves. Every ship we fly, every city we build, every idea we cherish, all of it stands on the foundation they freely provided. The report ended with a question that would define the galaxy's future. Now that our benefactors have returned, what do we owe them? And more importantly, what do we owe ourselves? As the truth spread through every corner of galactic civilization, billions of beings looked up at the stars with new understanding. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had conquered it through kindness, patience, and the simple act of helping others grow. The galaxy that had feared humanity's return now faced a more complex emotion, the overwhelming weight of gratitude to beings who had asked for nothing and given everything. The question now was not whether humanity would rule the galaxy, but whether the galaxy was worthy of the gift they had been given so long ago. In the depths of space, on countless worlds, species that had never met began to ask themselves the same question. What would they do with this second chance to prove themselves to the beings who had made their entire existence possible? The great assembly hall on Centralis Prime had never held so many beings at once. Representatives from every known species in the galaxy had come to witness something that had never happened before, humanity addressing the entire galactic community. As equals rather than myths or legends, President Karen White stood at the center of the vast chamber, looking calm despite the weight of nearly 1,000,000 years of history resting on her shoulders. Behind her stood the symbols of what humanity had become during their long sleep. Dr. Amanda Clark with her revolutionary medical discoveries that could heal any disease. Engineer Lisa Park with blueprints for ships that existed in folded space. And Admiral Jake Morrison, representing weapons that could rearrange matter itself. The chamber was completely silent as President White began to speak. Her words were translated into thousands of languages and broadcast to every inhabited world in the galaxy. "People of the stars," she said, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. "We meet today not as strangers but as family reunited after a long separation. Nearly 1,000,000 years ago, our species chose to step back and let you grow in your own ways. Today, we return to see what you have become." She paused, looking around at the incredible diversity of life forms gathered before her. "We are proud of what you have accomplished. You have built great civilizations, created beautiful art, and spread life to thousands of worlds. You have done things we never imagined possible." High Priestess Lyra of the Altarians stood up from her section. "What do you want from us?" she asked, her voice carrying respect but also caution. President White smiled. "We want what we wanted 870,000 years ago. We want to be your partners, not your rulers. We want to share knowledge, explore together, and face the challenges of the universe side by side." War Marshal Threk of the Corvani rose angrily from his place. "And if we refuse? Will you force us to obey like you did with our fleet?" "We will respect your choice," President White replied calmly. "Any species that wishes to have no contact with us is free to continue as they have. We will not interfere with your governments or your way of life." The Corvani leader seemed surprised by this answer. He had expected threats or demands for submission. Chancellor Vorth of the Nexari spoke next. "What can you offer us that we cannot achieve ourselves?" Dr. Clark stepped forward. "We can offer solutions to problems you didn't know could be solved. Medical treatments that can extend life indefinitely. Technology that can restore dead worlds to life. Knowledge that can help you explore parts of the galaxy that are currently too dangerous to approach." Engineer Park activated a holographic display that showed massive construction projects. "We can help you build better worlds, faster ships, and cities that exist in multiple dimensions at once, but only if you want our help." Admiral Morrison's contribution was more sobering. "We can also offer protection. There are dangers in the deep parts of the galaxy that we discovered long ago. Ancient machines that still function, hostile energy forms, and other threats that even we find challenging." The response from the galaxy was immediate and varied. The Altarians were the first to formally request a partnership agreement. Within days, their ships were traveling to Earth to establish joint research stations and cultural exchange programs. The Nexari, always logical, ran careful calculations and determined that cooperation with humanity offered significant advantages. They began diplomatic talks that would lead to technology sharing agreements and combined exploration missions. Even some Corvani factions, impressed by humanity's restraint and obvious power, decided that alliance was better than opposition. War Chief Grack, who had been present during the first contact, broke away from War Marshal Threk's hardline faction and established peaceful relations with Earth, but the changes went far beyond simple government agreements. On worlds across the Galaxy, the revelation of humanity's ancient gift, had sparked a renaissance of art, philosophy, and science. Species began to re-examine their own cultures and histories, looking for ways to honor both their heritage and their connection to their human benefactors. Dr. Clark established the first interspecies medical center on a neutral world halfway between Earth and the Altarian homeworld. Beings from dozens of species came there to be healed of diseases that had plagued their civilizations for centuries. The center became a symbol of what cooperation could achieve. Admiral Morrison worked with former enemies to explore the dangerous outer rim of the galaxy. His ships, protected by technology that could withstand the strange energies found there, led expeditions that included vessels from the Federation. Together, they discovered ancient ruins and mysterious phenomena that no single species could have investigated safely. Engineer Park began her greatest project yet, the construction of new worlds, designed specifically for interspecies cooperation. These planets featured environments that could support multiple forms of life and cities that showcased the best architecture and technology from every participating civilization. The changes were not without problems. Some species struggled with the knowledge that their greatest achievements were built on gifts from others. A few civilizations chose complete isolation rather than accept what they saw as charity. There were conflicts and misunderstandings as different cultures tried to work together, but slowly, steadily, a new kind of galaxy began to emerge. Trade routes that had been closed for centuries reopened as humanity's advanced ships provided safe passage through dangerous regions. Scientific discoveries accelerated as human knowledge combined with alien perspectives. Art and music flourished as different species shared their unique cultures. Earth itself became something unprecedented, a pilgrimage site for beings seeking to understand their origins and their place in the galaxy. The planet cities welcomed visitors from every known species, and its libraries preserved the knowledge and culture of the entire galactic community. President White often stood in the observation deck of the orbital station above Earth, watching ships from hundreds of worlds coming and going in peaceful cooperation. The sight never failed to amaze her. "We did the right thing," Dr. Clark said one day as they watched an Altarian crystal ship docking next to a Nexari research vessel. "Sleeping for so long, giving others the chance to grow. And now?" President White asked. Dr. Clark smiled. "Now we get to see what we can all become together." As humanity settled into their new role as partners rather than benefactors, the galaxy began to look toward the future with hope instead of fear. There were still mysteries to solve, worlds to explore, and challenges to face. But for the first time in galactic history, every species knew they would not face those challenges alone. The long sleep was over. The galaxy's greatest adventure was just beginning. Humanity had awakened not to rule, but to join the family they had helped create nearly 1 million years ago, and the universe itself seemed brighter for their return.